Last St. Patrick's Day, I almost died. I still have nightmares about the events that transpired. It all started when I was supposed to meet my friends for drinks on Paddy's Day. I was really excited because I hadn't seen any of my friends in a few months since I had been traveling. We were meeting at a bar early before it got too crowded. When I showed up, it seemed like everyone had the same idea. The bar was already pretty crowded. As I pushed through the crowd, I was surprised to feel a jab and looked down. There was a young girl in a red coat smiling up at me. She had a cherubic face with large eyes and curly hair. She kind of had a Shirley Temple look about her, but something creeped me out. It was also weird. What was this kid doing at a bar? I was also curious what the jab I felt was. There was an ache in my leg, but I couldn't see any mark on my pants. The little girl turned and skipped away. I wondered if she had come in to go to the bathroom, but it was weird that she didn't seem to have a parent or guardian present. Putting it out of my mind, I spotted my friends and made my way over. We were having a good time and a few hours went by. I couldn't resist going over to the jukebox. I was debating what song to choose when one of my friends grabbed me and yanked me over. She wanted me to settle a debate they were having. We never settled that debate because almost as soon as I was by her side, there was a horrible crash behind us. One of the heavy metal ceiling fans had fallen right where I was standing a second ago. If my friend hadn't grabbed me, I would have been hit. Based on the destruction, I am sure it would have killed me. That really killed the mood. We left the bar and I decided to go home. But all of this was just the beginning of my bad luck. No sooner did I walk out onto the street than a cab lost control and barreled up onto the sidewalk. I managed to jump out of the way, but by this time I was spooked. My friends joked that my luck had turned. I thought going home would be safe. I was wrong. I woke up that night to my cat, Banjo, tapping my face. As soon as I was awake, I smelled smoke. There was an electrical fire in the kitchen. If Banjo hadn't woken me up, I might not have woken up at all. I ended up taking a few days off work. The paranoia of something bad happening was getting to me. I started feeling like something bad was about to happen any minute, and then it did. An air conditioner fell out of a window. If I hadn't stopped to pick up a lucky penny, it would have hit me. I thought the lucky penny would help. Maybe it did. I carried it with me all the time. I kept having near misses. Someone grabbed me before I could fall into an open manhole cover I hadn't noticed. The little accidents and close calls continued until I missed a flight home to see my family. I thought that was a sign of my bad luck until the plane crashed. I'm gathering all the luck I can. 4-leaf clovers, wishbone wishes. Banjo is a tortoiseshell cat, which is supposed to be lucky. For now, my luck is holding. But I'm writing this because about an hour ago I went to leave the house, and I saw a girl in a red coat at the end of my street. As I stared at her with a bad sense of deja vu, lightning struck a street sign above my head. It's almost St. Patrick's Day. If I don't figure out a way to change my luck for good, I worry this will be my last one. It has always been my dream to travel to Ireland. When my mom asked if I wanted to go for my birthday in March, I jumped at the chance. The beginning of the trip was amazing. It was everything I had ever wanted. The sights and the people were wonderful, and I was bonding with my mom. My birthday is March 16th. Why is this important? Well, we hadn't even thought about the fact that we were going to be traveling over St. Patrick's Day because we were so focused on planning what to do for my birthday. We had a fun day exploring an area our family was from. That night, we checked into a new hotel. It was supposedly one our family owned back in the day. Right away, there was a bad vibe in the hotel. I couldn't put my finger on it, but once we checked into our room, my mom noticed it too. Our room was just sad. There was a slumped feeling to the furniture. The light was harsh and the whole place smelled slightly of sulfur. That night, we had dinner in the pub of the hotel we were staying. Everyone seemed exhausted and morose. The food wasn't very good and there wasn't enough of it. The drinks were weak and the pours were paltry, especially for the prices of the place. It was so different from the other hotels and inns where we had stayed. My mom felt terrible since she had been the one to book it, excited for the family connection. We went to bed that night feeling hungry and dissatisfied. I woke up on St. Patrick's Day feeling discontented. I could tell my mom did as well. We went down for the promised free breakfast, only to find a pitiable offering. There was weak tea, no coffee, and cream that smelled off. The only food was a loaf of uneven slices of stale bread with a dirty toaster next to it. It's funny because both my mom and I are not the type of people to stick up for ourselves. We are both just too conflict averse. But something about the situation caused my mom to snap. She found the owner of the inn and gave her honest yet respectful feedback, including that the breakfast that was promised was clearly different than the one actually provided. Neither of us expected the innkeeper to burst into tears. She said she was struggling to get everything done because her staff had all quit. Immediately, my mom felt terrible, and we ended up offering to help her clean and prepare for St. Patrick's Day. I bartended part-time, so I said that I could help in the pub. My mom is an excellent cook and offered to help prepare the food. It was kind of ridiculous how quickly we went from being upset to excited for a chance to help out. The woman who owned the inn was named Sharon, and she was so grateful I could tell my mom felt as bad as I did that we had made her cry. I went down to the basement to grab the cleaning supplies. There was something wrong with the basement. It smelled of sulfur, and there was a heat coming from one of the back corners that I didn't even want to investigate. When I grabbed the supplies, I noticed an entire shelf of whiskey. This was strange because the night before, Sharon had said that she had run out. When I went up and started cleaning, I mentioned it to her. She got a dazed look on her face but said I must be wrong because she had checked for it time and again. We went down and I showed it to her. When I turned around, I realized she hadn't even come all the way down the steps into the basement. I grabbed a few bottles and brought them up for her. By the time people started showing up at the pub, everything looked different. A bit of cleaning and fresh air gave the rooms a sparkle. The smells from the kitchen were appetizing and comforting. I noticed everyone still had the looks of lowered spirits, so I worked to be loud and happy and got music playing. Pretty soon, musicians decided to take over, and from that point, the mood changed. There was a great atmosphere, and people began to celebrate and order food and drinks. Sharon was so overcome with happiness that she gave out a round of whiskey on the house. Eventually, she sent me down for more bottles as people were ordering drinks and she was giving everyone healthy pours. I noticed the basement smelled a little better and the light was better down there too. At the end of the night, people were singing and Sharon was so happy she was crying. The next morning, she excitedly beckoned my mom and I down to the basement. It seemed a lot brighter and cooler down there. I asked if Sharon had been up all night cleaning, but she shook her head. She pointed at what had been the dark corner and told us the demon had finally gone. She explained that the demon lived there and had been feeding on everyone, but the frivolity and camaraderie of the night before had starved it, and it had left. My mom and I had no idea what she was talking about, but we were happy that she was happy. I don't know if there really was a demon there, but something changed for the better that night, and that is all I care about. My boyfriend had a big work party he wanted me to attend. I had no objections, but I was a little nervous, especially when I found out the party was on St. Patrick's Day and it was at a nice event space. My boyfriend Josh kept saying that it was the perfect way to meet everyone since it was such a fun and relaxed time. To me, the combination of alcohol and social awkwardness with the black-tie dress code sounded like a nightmare. But I loved Josh, so I agreed and was determined to make the best of it. I took special care picking out a dress. I went with a plain and beautiful black gown that I knew would be appropriate for the event. I had a pair of emerald earrings from Josh that I wore. The other reason I was nervous was something I was almost too embarrassed to admit. It was that Josh had a work wife that I was going to meet at the party. The first time he had used the term, I didn't even understand what he was talking about. He laughed when he explained, and he told me it was really normal for people to have. I guess a work wife is a woman at work who you spend a lot of time with and are kind of best friends within the workplace. They pretend to be married or something. Whatever he says, I still think it's weird. But when I looked it up online, it did appear to be a real thing. And I've only heard good things about Josh's work wife. Let's call her Avery. It just makes me kind of uncomfortable because he talks about her like someone would describe someone they're in a relationship with. I made myself feel better with the fact that they barely interact outside of work. Maybe a text here or there, but he never goes out with her alone. So I told myself it really was just a strangely personal work relationship. The party was on the top floor of a restaurant, and Josh said the event was fully catered. I went to the party with butterflies in my stomach, but I told myself it would be fun. Avery found us almost as soon as we got to the party. This is going to sound mean, but I had only seen pictures of Avery, and she definitely looks better in the photographs she posts. In person, I was kind of surprised. Not to say anything bad, she looked lovely in her green dress. She was immediately really nice to me, and I felt bad for anything bad I had thought about her. At first, I did notice that she touched Josh a lot and brought up a lot of inside jokes that I didn't understand, which made the conversation kind of awkward. I could even tell Josh was starting to feel slightly uncomfortable as he tried to explain another random phrase she had used. I got kind of bored and ended up excusing myself to go try some of the food. When I got to the refreshment tables, I noticed all of the drinks were dyed green. Green beer and green cocktails. There were even green shots. I figured, what the heck? I was anxious and already having a bad time. One shot couldn't hurt. I picked one up, but when I sniffed it, I recoiled. There was something extremely fishy about it. I quickly put it back on the table. The smell felt like it was stuck in my nose. It was so gross, and I felt kind of sick. When I turned around, I was shocked to find Avery and Josh right there. Avery was holding onto Josh's arm, and the visual immediately gave me the ick. They looked like a couple, and it made me question why I was there. Josh reached out for me, but with Avery still clinging onto him, I just gave his hand a friendly squeeze and moved away. I didn't really feel like being one of the two women clinging onto his arms. Avery asked if I was taking a shot. I said I was thinking about it, but it smelled a little strange to me. She let go of Josh to grab shots for us. I tried to say no, but she shoved one into my hand. I knew no matter what, I couldn't take that shot. I would get sick, and I really didn't want to. Avery held the shot up and then threw it back as she took it. Josh did the same. When they were distracted, I dumped the shot into a potted plant behind me. Josh started sputtering and gagging. He asked what that horrible fishy smell was. Avery just giggled. She said she didn't like to use food coloring, so she had found an organic compound to add to the drinks to make them turn green. The company had let her add it to every beverage available that night. It's so much better than something artificial, she said. Privately, I disagreed, but I didn't want to say anything. Then something horrible occurred to me. I asked if the food was green too, and luckily she said it wasn't, which was good because I was hungry. I tried to slip away, but this time Josh came with me, which meant Avery came along too. I found some sliders and was just taking a bite when Avery reached out and pinched my arm. Hard. I asked why the heck she had done that. She said because I wasn't wearing green. Josh pointed out my emerald earrings and Avery looked embarrassed. She offered to let me pinch her back, but I declined. By this point, I was getting annoyed. I didn't really want to be at the party anymore. Glancing over at Josh, I realized I didn't even know if I wanted to be in a relationship with him. Something about how different he acted at the party made me lose respect for him. Suddenly, I realized he wasn't looking so good. When I asked him if he felt okay, he said he was fine. I glanced over at Avery, but she had a green tinge to her as well. Looking around, I realized everyone at the party looked a little green and sweaty. I excused myself to go to the bathroom and ordered a car from inside the stall. Something was telling me to get out of the party as soon as possible. I figured I would pretend to be sick. I could decide what to do about Josh later. When I came out of the bathroom, I was walking down the dark hall to the event space when I heard a crash. I peeked around and barely held back a gasp. The party was in absolute chaos. Some people were vomiting, Josh included. But some people were fighting. They were throwing punches and even biting each other. People were going over tables and glasses were shattering. The fishy smell had permeated the entire room. I turned around and calmly walked to the exit. My car was waiting outside and I rode home, determined to take a hot shower and then text Josh. I heard from him later that he was in the hospital. He said that I couldn't come visit because he was in quarantine, which was good because I hadn't been planning on going to visit him anyway. It turned out Avery had ordered the natural additive on a sketchy site. Doctors were still trying to figure out what it was made of or why it created such rage and violence in some people and not in others. I admitted to Josh that I hadn't taken the shot, which was why I was unaffected. Then I broke up with him. Now when I go on dates, I'm going to be sure to ask guys about work wives. Hopefully, I can find someone who doesn't even know what the phrase means.